As the days passed, the charm began to tighten its grip on Udodi's mind. Olachi's plan seemed to be working as Udodi grew more distant from Adugo. And whenever he looked at Olachi, something in his mind twisted. He saw her not as the scheming daughter of Adugo's mistress she was, but as his rightful wife. Adugo noticed the shift in Udodi's behavior immediately. Though he had been kind and gentle at the beginning of their marriage, he now seemed cold, distracted, and withdrawn. He barely spoke to her and avoided her presence as much as possible. Confused and heartbroken, Adugo spent most of her time in silence, praying to her chi for guidance and strength. Olachi, on the other hand, basked in the success of her deception. She became bolder, making subtle advances towards Udodi, testing the limits of the charm's power. She was determined to claim him entirely, and with each meal she prepared, she added more of the portion, deepening his confusion and attraction to her. However, not everyone was blind to what was happening. One afternoon, a palm wine tapper named Oduma had climbed high into the palm trees near Udodi's compound. From his perch, he could see the comings and goings of the household. While gathering sap from the palm trees, Oduma happened to witness Olachi sneaking into Udodi's hut, carrying a small punch tied with red cloth and mouthing strange words under her breath. Curious Oduma watched as Olachi poured something into a plate of food. Her actions were fast and secretive. Oduma didn't understand anything he saw, but something about the scene felt deeply wrong. He had heard stories of women using charms and potions to manipulate men, and the sight of Olachi's sly movements got him worried. That evening, after Olachi had served the food to Udodi and retreated to her own hut, Oduma climbed down from the tree and made his way to Adugo's hut. He knew he couldn't keep this information to himself. Adugo was a good woman, and whatever was happening was not right. As he approached her door, he wondered how he could tell her what he had seen. Would she believe him? He gathered courage and knocked softly. Adugo, who had been sitting quietly in the corner of the hut, deep in thought, looked up in surprise. She hadn't expected any visitors, and certainly not Oduma, the palm wine tapper. She opened the door curiously. "Oduma, what brings you here?" Oduma looked around, making sure no one else was watching before stepping inside. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Adugo, I need to tell you something. I've been watching, and I've seen things, strange things." Adugo's heart pounded in her chest. "What do you mean? What have you seen?" "I've seen Olachi putting something in Udodi's food," Oduma said. "She's been sneaking into his hut at night, muttering strange words and using some kind of potion. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think she's trying to bewitch him." Adugo's eyes widened in shock, the pieces of the puzzle suddenly falling into place. Udodi's strange behavior, his growing distance, the way he looked at Olachi with unfamiliar eyes, it all made sense now. "A charm," she whispered. "She's using a charm on him?" Oduma nodded gravely. "I didn't want to believe it at first, but after what I've seen, I couldn't stay silent." "You have to do something, Adugo. This isn't right." Adugo's mind raced as she tried to process the revelation. She had suspected that Olachi's intentions were less than pure, but she hadn't imagined it would go this far. Her heart ached at the thought of Udodi being trapped in such a cruel deception. I will confront her, Adugo said firmly. Standing up, she won't get away with this. Be careful, Adugo. Olachi is cunning, and if she knows you're onto her, she might do something worse. You need to act smart, not just out of anger. Adugo nodded, taking a deep breath to calm herself. You're right, I need to think about how to handle this. As Oduma left the hut, Adugo sat back down, sad and worried. How had things come to this? She had finally found a ray of happiness with Udodi, only to have it snatched away by her own foster mother's greedy and jealous daughter. But Adugo was not one to back down easily. She had faced many hardships in life, and this would be no different. She would protect her marriage no matter what it took. She knew she could not do it alone though. She needed help. The next morning, she sought out Udodi's mother and explained everything Oduma had told her. And Udodi's mother listened quietly to absorb the information. This is serious. If what Oduma said is true, Olachi has violated the sacred bond of marriage and family, she said. We must act quickly to break this charm before it does more damage. She led Adugo to the forest where she gathered some herbs and roots known for their spiritual cleansing properties. As they walked home, Udodi's mother spoke in low tones, praying to the gods to protect her son and to reveal the truth. That evening, as Olachi prepared another meal for Udodi, Adugo and his mother confronted her. Olachi, I know what you've been doing. I know about the charm. Olachi's face pearled, but she quickly composed herself. I don't know what you're talking about. But before she could say more, Udodi's mother stepped forward, holding out the herbs she had gathered. Eat this, Olachi. If you're innocent, this will do no harm. But if you're guilty, the truth will reveal itself. Fear gripped Olachi, and her hands began to tremble. Seeing her expression, Adugo knew the truth. You've bewitched him, haven't you? Realizing she had been caught, she dropped to her knees. Yes, she confessed. I used a charm. I wanted him for myself. I'm sorry. I just wanted. But Adugo's heart hardened. You betrayed me, Olachi. You tried to destroy my marriage for your own selfish desires. I cannot forgive you for that. Udodi's mother spoke next. The village council will hear this. You and your mother have disgraced this family. You will face the consequences. Olachi sobbed, knowing there was no escape. The village elders would surely banish her and her mother for such a crime. She had not only ruined her own life but her mother's as well. As Olachi was laid away, Adugo turned to Udodi, who stood there confused. The charm was still in his system, but with time and the right remedies, he would recover. Adugo walked to him and took his hand. We will heal Udodi together. And so, under the light of the moon, she prayed that their love, though tested, would emerge stronger than ever. The next morning, Adugo with Udodi's mother sought the help of the village healer, a woman named Nnenna, who was known for breaking spiritual curses and charms. Adugo explained everything to Nnenna, detailing how Olachi had bewitched Udodi with the charm. The charm was powerful and it has taken root in his spirit. We will need to cleanse him completely. Nnenna led them to a small clearing in the forest, where a stream flowed gently over smooth stones. She instructed Ezine and Udodi's mother to gather water from the stream and herbs from the surrounding forest. Nnenna prepared the herbs and smeared it on Udodi's forehead and hands. Udodi sat by the stream, looking half present. Adugo's heart ached to see him like this, but she trusted Nnenna's skill. As the sun set, Nnenna lit a fire and began the final part of the ritual, a prayer to the gods to lift the curse and restore Udodi's mind. For hours, Nnenna chanted, the fire crackling before them. Adugo sat by Udodi's side, holding his hand and whispering prayers of her own. Slowly, Udodi's dull and unfocused eyes began to clear. Adugo, he muttered. Adugo's heart leaped. Udodi, you are okay. He looked around, trying to remember what had happened. I don't understand. I feel like I've been lost. Adugo gently placed her hand on his cheek. You were under a charm, but it's over now. Nnenna watched them from the fire, a satisfied smile on her face. The charm is broken, but his spirit is still weak. You must take care of him, Adugo. His healing will take time. Adugo nodded, her heart full of gratitude. Thank you, Nnenna. We will never forget what you've done for us. With the charm broken and Udodi slowly regaining his strength, they returned to the village. But the ordeal was far from over. Olachi and her mother were awaiting their punishment. The village elders convened a special meeting to discuss the fate of Olachi and her mother. The elders sat in half circle under the shade of a tree at the center of the village, their faces stained and unforgiving. The news of Olachi's treachery had spread quickly and the villagers had gathered to witness the outcome. Adugo and Udodi stood together, watching from the crowd, their hands clasped tightly. Olachi and her mother Nkemdelim were brought before the elders. Olachi, you have been accused of using dark charms to break the sacred bond of marriage. Your actions are staying upon your family and our village. Do you deny these charges? The chief elder, a man named Odoka, asked. Olachi's voice trembled as she replied, I cannot deny it, Elder Odoka. I was wrong. I acted out of jealousy and greed. I asked for forgiveness. The crowd murmured in disapproval, but Odoka silenced them with a wave of hand. He turned to Nkemdelem. And you, Nkemdelem, is accused of aiding your daughter in her deceit. What do you say? He asked. Nkemdelem lifted her chin, her voice bitter. I only wanted what was best for my daughter. Udodi should have chosen her from the start. I did what any mother would do to protect her child. Adugo felt a surge of anger at Nkemdelem's words, but she remained silent. This was not her battle to fight. Odoka sighed deeply, shaking his head. You have both brought shame upon yourselves. Your actions could have torn apart the peace of this village. We cannot allow such betrayal to go unpunished. After a brief consultation with the other elders, Odoka delivered the verdict. Olachi and Nkem, you are banished from this village. You will live as outcasts and no one shall offer you shelter or aid. Your names will be spoken only in shame. Olachi fell to her knees, crying, while Nkem stood rigid, her face a mask of anger. The crowd murmured, some in agreement, others in sympathy for Olachi, who had been led astray by her mother's influence. Adugo watched as Olachi and Nkemdelim were led away, despite everything. She felt pity for them, but the damage had been done, and there was no turning back now. With Olachi and Nkemdelim gone from the village, life slowly began to return to normal for Adugo and Udodi. Udodi's strength returned with each passing day. The village too seemed to settle back into its rhythm. The scandal of Olachi's betrayal faded into memory, replaced by new stories and new beginnings. Adugo and Udodi worked together to build their home. One evening, as they sat outside their hut, Udodi turned to Adugo. I don't know how I would have survived without you, Adugo. You saved me. Adugo smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. Despite the banishment of Olachi and her mother Nkendelem, not everyone in the village agreed with the elders' decision. Some believed the punishment was too harsh, especially for Olachi, who was seen as a victim of her mother's manipulation. As rumors spread, a small group of villagers began to question the elders' authority, murmuring about the fairness and justice. These murmurs grew louder over time, causing tension within the community. Some people felt that Olachi should have been given a second chance, while others believed that the punishment fit the crime. Udodi and Adugo, though grateful for the peace they now enjoyed, couldn't ignore the growing division in the village. They worried that the unrest might escalate and disrupt the fragile harmony that had been restored. Just when things seemed to be settling, word reached the village that Olachi and her mother had been spotted living on the outskirts of the forest. Though banished, they hadn't gone far. Some said they were planning to seek revenge. Others believed they were simply trying to survive. Adugo knew that Olachi and Nkem would not forget what had been done to them. Would they try to return? Would they seek vengeance? Udodi tried to reassure her, but he too was uneasy. One afternoon, while gathering firewood in the forest, Adugo overheard two women talking in hushed voices. They spoke of Olachi and her mother having secret meetings and performing strange rituals in the forest. Curiosity piqued. Adugo followed the voices to secluded clearing, where she witnessed Olachi and her mother Nkendelem performing a dark ritual, presumably to bring misfortune to the village or seek revenge on them. Startled, she flees, her heart racing. She struggled with whether to tell Udodi and the elders or to keep it to herself. Her fear grows as the strange occurrences in the village seemed connected to what she saw. Adugo finally revealed what she saw to Udodi, and he insists they tell the village elders. The elders are troubled but cautious. Knowing they can't act on rumors alone, they decided to send a group of warriors to investigate the forest where Olachi and Nkemdelen are suspected of hiding. The village begins to divide further, with some wanting to confront Olachi and others fearing the wrath of dark spirits. Udodi felt helpless. His strength as a hunter means little against the supernatural forces at play. He began to doubt his ability to protect Adugo, and his inner turmoil pushed him to seek counsel from the healer Nnenna. Nnenna warns him that Olachi and Nkem's magic is sown in deep hatred and jealousy, which can only be defeated by unity and purity of heart. They sought for the help of a seer whose name was Dike, who claimed to have the knowledge of the rituals Olachi was performing. He told the elders that Olachi and Nkem were attempting to summon a dark spirit to destroy the village. The villagers were divided. Some believed the seer, while others think he is spreading fear. One night, a series of mysterious events happened. Plants withered overnight, livestock fell ill, and strange noises filled the air. The villagers were terrified, convinced that Olachi and Nkem's ritual has brought a curse upon them. Adugo felt personally responsible for not acting sooner, while Udodi became even more determined to confront the source of the problem. A group of warriors, including Udodi, set off to confront Olachi and Nkem in the forest. They find remnants of the rituals, but no sign of the women. However, they encountered strange symbols etched into the trees and an eerie presence, and some warriors began to believe the village is truly cursed. Adugo began to have vivid dreams of her family and the night her father and brothers were executed. In these dreams, she saw Olachi laughing and taunting her, blending the past with the present. The dream grew darker each night, making her believe that Olachi is somehow invading her mind through dark magic. Dike the seer approached Adugo privately and revealed a prophecy about her and Udodi. He told her that her bloodline carries a spiritual gift passed down from her ancestors that could be the key of breaking the curse. Adugo was reluctant to believe him, but she agreed to listen and learn the ways of her ancestors in hopes of saving the village. The village elders finally decided that something must be done. They began preparations to protect the village from the dark forces they believed Olachi had summoned. The warriors were armed and spiritual leaders began to perform protective rituals. Adugo and Udodi went into the forest to seek the heart of the dark magic that Olachi and Nkemdelem were using. They discovered an ancient altar hidden beneath a tree where the dark spirits had been summoned. Adugo realized that was the source of the village suffering, and they must destroy it to break the curse. Unbeknownst to them, a close friend of Udodi, who happened to be a fellow hunter and a warrior, has been working with Olachi and her mother in secret. This warrior has been promised power in exchange of his loyalty to them. Udodi confronted his friend and was forced to kill him to protect Adugo. Nkemdelem, furious that her plans have been discovered, launched a direct attack on the village. Using dark magic, she caused chaos and fear, manipulating the minds of villagers and turning them against each other. Adugo was pushed to brink, and finally she unlocked the full potential of her spiritual gift with Dike's help. She channeled the energy of her ancestors and became a powerful force capable of combating Olachi and Nkem's magic. Adugo and Udodi, along with the village warriors, confronted Olachi and her mother in the heart of the forest. The villagers were caught in the crossfire, and it became clear that the fight would determine the future of the entire village. During the confrontation, Olachi revealed that she never wanted to harm the village, but only to make Udodi love her. Her desperation is palpable, but Adugo refused to let her continue the destruction. In a final act of mercy, Adugo spared Olachi but destroyed the dark spirit she had summoned and broke the curse for good. Nkemdelem, unrepentant and full of hatred, refused to surrender. She attempts to use the last of her dark magic to kill Adugo, but Adugo killed her instead. The village underwent a spiritual cleansing, and the crops began to grow again. The livestock recovered and the villagers' spirits were lifted. Adugo was hailed as a hero, but she remained humble and happy for the unity that has returned to the village. Udodi and Adugo were finally able to live in peace after surviving the trials together. Adugo took on the job of a spiritualist, and her husband Udodi continued his work as a hunter and a warrior. Years passed and Olachi returned to the village, seeking forgiveness. She was a broken woman, having suffered greatly after her banishment. Adugo, with her heart full of compassion, forgave her, and the village accepted her back. Though things never remained the same, Adugo and Udodi, having faced countless trials, lived peacefully in their village. The dark forces were defeated, and the village prospered.